Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Tim at Broken Dice, bringing you another video in my solo wargaming series. This is the Greeks versus Roman. This is turn 5, the Roman half of turn 5. So let's get into this. Let's go over the orders phase and then we'll move on. Yeah, before we jump into the orders, let's take a quick little review though and see where things stand. Right now we have the Galatians on the far right. They've already run off the Roman cavalry. Uh, very surprised by that. Not the Roman cavalry, but the Greek cavalry. The Greek cavalry commander, which was the general, his division was broken, and so they had to flee the table. So the army is left with a replacement commander. Um, we see here towards the center the silver shields and two cohorts of Romans are fighting it out. And then down here on the far left, we see another pike block fighting another Roman cohort. And let's go on to the next one. Here you can see a broader picture of what's going on in the center of the line. Uh, One of the pike blocks have been broken. The one in the center here that has the shaken token behind it, uh, yeah, it had been pushed back at the end of the last turn. So there's a great big gap in the middle. Not looking good for the Greek side right now. And then over on the far left, in the top left corner, you can see that the double-depth phalanx has been having its way with a few of the Roman cohorts by pushing. I think it's destroyed one or two already and is pushing this third one back. So yeah, it's done stellar work, but the rest of the army has not done very well. Here for a change of pace, you can see it from the Roman side of the battlefield. You can see how much of a gap there is between the double death phalanx basically on the right now and the rest of the not cohorts but the Greek phalanx. So yeah, well that one got waxed pretty early on. Yeah, I was surprised by that, but yeah, you can see how this gap has opened up in the line, and that it never is a good thing for a phalanx and pike blocks to have a big gap like that. That leaves the flanks open, and now that they're already engaged, it could spell trouble real quickly if things go awry on the dice rolling front. Again, from the Roman side of the table, you can see how close the Galatians here on the far left are to the Silver Shields. Not looking good. I was hoping that they will be able to at least push these guys back and on their part of turn 4, but it didn't work out that way. It's very disappointing to watch this because it's almost like historically accurate. They get tied up to the front and here it comes in the side. So history plays out, I guess. And again, here we are from behind the Roman line on the other end, on the far right for the Romans. You see this one poor cohort, facing that double depth phalanx. It's, you know, it's got its work cut out for it this turn. And to the top right, we have some more Roman allied infantry doing stellar work against a Greek phalanx. Um, they've won 2 combats in a row, I think, against this unit, or at least one, and has pushed them back and done significant damage to them. I'm very surprised by this, but that's why we play the game. That's why we roll the dice. To me, it's fantastic. So let's take a look at what else is going on this end of the table. So here we have a look at the rest of this side of the table: the Greek left, the Roman right. Um, that poor yellow unit of Thorophorii has taken this um, warband and pushed it straight backwards. The Allied Greek cavalry here has taken away one of the light cavalry units for the Roman allies, and it looks good on this side, But the problem is, it's the Romans' turn. So these, even though they're in a prime position, they need to have something good happen in this combat with the Thurophorei for them to at least consolidate this corner, because as you'll see in the next picture, those medium allied cavalry for the Romans is coming in quick. So here you can see at the bottom of the screen, these are Spanish medium cavalry allied with the Romans, and they're coming in quick to lend support to this combat side over here. Now, as far as cavalry go, they're probably the best left on the table, but they have yet to be engaged because it took them so long to launch their attack. It's almost like their hand was forced when this warband got pushed back. So yeah, now we're kind of caught up where everybody is. So let's get into the movement phase, orders phase, and then we'll get into the combat phase. All right, Roman turn 5, movement phase, charges and moves to support. Here was a no-brainer for the Roman side. The commander here, you can see on the top part of the Galatian, he's going to issue a follow me order to charge those silver shields in the flank. That's not going to go good for the silver shields at all if he gets that off. And let's continue on across the battlefield. Okay, here in the center, you can see that the center of the Roman line is now turning to face the greatest threat, and that would be the double-depth phalanx on the top left. And so all these units, although they cannot charge this turn, they are going to turn and face and hopefully be able to engage in the next turn. And the cohort here with the blue shields, they're moving up to lend support to the unit fighting the phalanx to their front, along with a unit of skirmishers behind. So if they get in there this turn, then that's going to spell doom for that one unit, because I think they're already shaken. So yeah, not good at all. Okay, and here again on the Greek far left and on the Roman far right, we have the unengaged cavalry moving into a position to oppose the flanking Greek cavalry. Roman turn 5, combat phase. Initiative moves are made and orders were successful. So here we have the Galatians making it in, obviously. They passed their order, charged into the flank. Was not a good roll for the Silver Shields. Yeah, they were doomed anyway. They're fighting two fairly complete cohorts of Romans, plus getting charged in the flank. This spelled doom for them real quickly. And you can see that they are now gone. So yeah, this is turning into a debacle. It's fascinating how this game had so many flows back and forth. So here we see in the center that these pike block with the red trim are fighting that cohort with the black shields. If those supports had gotten there, they came up a little short. I think this would have spelled doom. But you can see that since this unit is already shaken, and they'll always have to test, and so they take their test, and they actually stay. So you can see this photo kind of shows everything that's already happened. The Galatians and all the other units have turned to face the center part of the battlefield. This cohort, although shaken, it's going to cause this center of the Greek army to break, because they've lost two pike blocks, plus this one is shaken. That's well over half. So even though the double depth has done stellar work so far, it will have to leave the battlefield. So we can go over here and take a look. Here we have the double depth phalanx doing its thing, crushing this poor Roman cohort that's been battling it for a couple of turns, but it just, it was shaken, became disordered, and you can still look at the bottom there. They rolled a 5. I think they lost by like 3 or something, and it was just a done deal right from the get-go. Here you can see the Greek phalanx has taken their victorious move and turned and faced the Romans coming to engage them. But like I said, with that one unit in a state of shaken and the other two um, pike blocks being taken out, that makes this division broken, and they have to fall back and leave the table. Makes them a broken division. So let's go on to the others, which would be the Roman right, the Greek left. Here we have the yeah, this open order unit of just allied, kind of guess they would be like Celtiberians fighting this Greek phalanx, doing stellar work. And as you can see up there, if you take real good, a lot, have good vision, you can see that they rolled a 5 on their break test table. Yeah, that didn't turn out well, and or 4, yeah, and they are gone, gone. It's terrible. Look at that. That one little unit there just toasted that big phalanx. And here we have, in this part of the combat phase, we've got our um, Thurophorii doing stellar work against the warband. But I think it was a drawn combat or something like that. Yeah, it was. Uh, yeah, it didn't go well. It did not go well. Yeah, yeah, it was a drawn combat. I had to take a second look at my notes. Yeah, it was a drawn combat. And then down at the bottom, we just had some shooting between the two light cavalry units, and that put one of those Greek light cavalry units in a state of shaken. So with the other two gone and that unit becoming shaken, the Greek cavalry will flee the field, pretty much busting up the entire force of Greeks. Again, this would have been in the next turn a great round of combat, but that's not going to happen. And here we can see that one unit of open order Scutari have turned to face the rear of that one lone Thurophorii. So yeah, it did turn out to be a pretty good solo game. It's fun to kind of watch things unfold in front of you, especially when you don't have something on the line in it, like when you're playing a human opponent. It's interesting to me. I find it fascinating to watch things pan out, because in this game, um, there were two turns in which I thought the Greeks were just going to just rumble stomp right through the Romans, and it just didn't happen. And the one strength that you can see in these Roman cohorts in Hail Caesar is their durability, their ability to maneuver with the drilled special rule. Um, and it just seems like that they're able to take damage, hang around. Um, I don't know. It takes a lot to break them. And I'll tell you, one of the significant events in this game was the loss of the skirmishers for the Greek side. When they moved off the table and got out of the way of the Roman charge and moved off the table, them never coming back on to lend support in the ongoing combat phases proved decisive over and over again. Supports made a tremendous difference. And that's why I like at the beginning of games like this, of this time period, when skirmishers would go out and you would have them throwing javelins and shooting arrows and slinging stones back and forth at each other. In these games, it matters. It matters whether they're on the table. It matters whether they can lend support or not. Because when they do, it really makes a difference in the way these combat turns can uh, turn out, and it showed itself over and over and over again. Even with the phalanx special rule where you got to win by 2 or it's a draw, the Romans were just hanging in there all the time because they had those extra dice in the combat phase. They could get that 1 or 2, whether it made them lose by less or win by just a little bit more. It proved decisive. All right, so that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you like this kind of stuff. I had fun setting this thing up. I got to use my new pieces of terrain that I made. I like the idea of the ambushing units coming in. I thought that worked okay, although it didn't really pan out because I kept failing orders early on. But I think in a normal set of rolling for orders, even if you make an average number of them, that it would have turned out completely differently. And I think that the ambushing units of cavalry would have played a much more significant role than what they wound up doing. All right. I hope everybody appreciates this kind of stuff. Likes this kind of thing. I have fun putting them together and setting it up. And I love going over them analytically and just looking at where they broke down and then how they broke down. And as I looked at it, I was thinking that there were several turning points in this thing. First off, the medium cavalry failing against the infantry, I thought was very interesting. For the Greeks, it was very interesting to watch them get beat and pushed back because they had several chances. But I think in 3 turns the one turn that they charged and 2 subsequent turns they were pushed off the table. That made a big difference. That was 2 whole units gone. And then the Greek heavy cavalry with the army general in it, when they got put into condition of shaken, well, you had the other 2 that fled off the table. Those 2 became shaken, so that division is broken. And the general died. that was interesting in that. And the fact that they had charged those Romans in the rear on that turn, on Greek turn 4, and just did not roll well. The dice were not friendly to them. So yeah, that made a big difference in how, and therefore the silver shields were kept in combat. Therefore they were open to the flank, and the Galatians charged in and took them out in Roman turn 5 in this video. It was interesting to watch how they went back and forth, and I still keep coming back to those skirmishers being off the table, not being able to lend any support to the phalanx. Properly supported by those skirmishing units, I think the game may have turned out a little bit differently, at least more of a draw. But this turned out to be just a thorough wiping here of the Greek forces off the table. All 3 divisions broken and made to flee. And one thing I'm just recognizing now that I didn't mention earlier on was that the division that those Thurophori are in, it's completely broken with the loss of the Greek hoplites. So there you go. I mean, all 3 divisions were broken and forced to flee the table. But on a bright note for the Greek side, they were able to obtain more of the what I called strategic points than what the Romans did. And you have to look back at some other videos, but we can go over that at a different time. But yeah, it was how we're going to employ those strategic points, because you can see like up there, that one commander with that open order unit has a little like white circle on his base. Well, that is like a little counter and has a number on there, like 1 through 6, and that represents the number of strategy points that guy is particularly worth. Well, the Romans were able to take out the army general, which he had like 3 points or something, so there wasn't that many, but the ones that the Greeks were able to take all had greater number of points associated with them. So Yeah, it didn't. Once I figure out how I want to use them on like a campaign table, but that's how it's going to play out on the actual tabletop. Well, this video's went on much longer than what I thought, but always analysis afterwards is always fun to talk about the what ifs and what could have been if certain things had happened. But again, failure of the Greek cavalry, failure of the skirmishers to stay on the table and to return to the table and lend support. That that did terrible damage. But in the end, it was closer than what it ended up being, but fun nonetheless. Well, everybody, um, leave a like or make a comment down below. What do you think about these kind of games? What do you think about solo gaming? Is it valuable to you? Is it not valuable to you? I had fun. So everybody stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you next time.